Record button has been hit. It is time to do this thing that we call a podcast. Let me get my podcasting position. Gotta sit up, back straight. Ooh, looking posing. Adjust the camera. Here we go. Alrighty, Stream the Machine, episode 48 is good to go. And we're going to start off with this.
City streets and thriving neighborhoods.
I hate the way they portray us in the media. If you see a black family, it says they're looting. Even for me to complain about, I would be a hypocrite because I've tried to turn away from the TV because it's too hard to watch. I've even been shopping before even giving a donation. So now I'm calling my business manager right now to see what is the biggest amount I can give, and just to imagine if I was down there, and those are my people down there. So anybody out there that wants to do anything that we can help with the setup, the way America is set up to help the poor, the less well off as slow as possible. I mean, Red Cross is doing everything they can. We already realize a lot of the people that could help are at war right now, fighting another way, and they've given them permission to go down and shoot us.
And subtle, but in even many ways more profoundly devastating, is the lasting damage to the survivors' will to rebuild and remain in the area. The destruction of the spirit of the people of southern Louisiana and Mississippi may end up being the most tragic loss of all.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Get out of that refrigerator right now!
You are listening to a Fly Science Productions podcast. Welcome to Stream the Machine. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Stream the Machine, episode 48. 2 episodes away from, 4950. Yeah, I just want to make sure. I guess 3 if you count today's episode. But as you might notice, it is only me here today. We'll do a quick show. Tony is out. He was going to make it. I'll start from the beginning, I guess. He was going to have a party last night. Him and his roommates, and invite a bunch of their friends over. And he told me earlier this week, he said, hey man, if I don't get up on time, call me, send me a text, do whatever you can. I'll get up, I'll do the show. And I said, well, sure, okay, we'll do that. And I texted him this morning, and I said, hey buddy, if you're not feeling good, don't feel like waking up, because it's okay to have fun, and if he's just going to be feeling like shit today anyways, I don't want him to have to get up and worry about a podcast and, worrying about whether or not he's going to be able to entertain you guys. So I decided to go ahead and just tell him, sleep in, relax. Now, whether he actually followed that advice or just happened to fall back asleep on his own accord, I don't know. So either way, Tony is out. So he can rest up and make sure that he's well rested for next episode and the following anniversary episode after that. So today's just going to be somewhat of a quick show. We did one Wednesday, so there's really not a whole lot of big news or anything to talk about. So I'll talk about a couple things here, I guess, that's happened since. And our Page Not Found segment might be good. We have some good... we have something good to talk about that actually... A little Easter egg for those of you who remember the Techromancy podcast that started, which is what led to Stream the Machine. Techromancy was done actually probably around this exact same time last year. We did it for about 2 weeks and then started Stream the Machine a week or 2 later. But we'll get into that when the news segment comes along. So Tony and Ross are out. Ross is still in New Hampshire. He's coming back today, but he was not going to get back till later tonight, so he wasn't going to make it to the show. We miss him. We can't wait to have him back next week. I also told you guys we would play Tony's music from the show, or from one of his shows today. I'm also going to hold off on that because I figured Tony would like to be here for that, and I would also like Ross to be here for that. So instead, I've got other music we'll play, and we will go with that instead and save the other music for another time. Rachel gets home tomorrow, which is exciting. I can finally start eating decent dinners again. That is not a sexist comment. Women do not always have to cook, but I do not know how to cook. I can cook. So the things I can cook, anything frozen, which isn't really cooking, and pasta. And I can't really eat pasta right now because I'm trying to change up the diet. So the one thing I'm good at, which is cooking pasta, my mother's world-famous pasta, I can't even cook right now because that's got too many carbs and all that jazz. So it'll be nice to have Rachel back. It'd also be nice to see her. It's not just the food that I'm excited to have her back for. It is definitely so I can finally hang out with her and talk to her like usual. But that does mean that today or tonight or maybe even tomorrow before she arrives home is dish day. It is the day that I will have to do the dishes, one of my least favorite things to do. It has been piling up all week. I actually haven't had that many dishes. I've been reusing some plates, wash them off real quick, and reuse them, or just not use a plate. I would have used styrofoam plates or plastic plates if we had them, but this was, or paper plates, I guess. But this was the one week that we actually forgot to buy it at the grocery store, so we did not have those disposable plates, which I imagine was actually a ploy by Rachel probably to make me have to wash dishes. We always get that thing. How did we forget it this time? Just so happened to be the week that she would be gone. I think it was a clever ruse that she had got set up. Pi Day is also today, 3/14, which is, maybe no one knows, maybe some people know, 3.14 and a billion numbers after that, really into infinity, is the number for pi. And so today is Pi Day. If you have local pie shops, or I don't know what else you'd call them, a pie shop's what I would call it. If you have local areas like local places like that, sometimes they actually have promotions and other cool things today. So look around. If you like pie, try to find a local pie shop. See if they've got something going on. Call them in. See if you can get yourself some discounted pie. I don't like pie, so I don't know what they've done before, but I'm pretty sure Rachel's gone with some friends. We used to have, I don't know if we still have it. Actually, I don't think we do. We used to have a like a pie bar a couple streets over. You go there and you could get some nice brews and eat some pie. I've never been a pie fan, so I've never gone myself. But also, so since I am by myself today, feel free to, if you have a particular question that you think might be interesting, Jake, what's your favorite movie and why? Or something like that. Feel free to send it to me on Facebook. I will answer questions if anyone has them as we go throughout the show. So it doesn't have to be just now. But let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, I talked about tattoos. Last night was tattoo night. I did not go. I chose to stay home. Probably not to the surprise of anybody. If you've listened and you've known me long enough, you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, okay, well, I was surprised that you would have gone out and gotten a tattoo to begin with. Yeah, I'd been thinking about tattoos, and there's been some piercings I wanted to get for a while, and I thought, all of this is good and neat, but, I just wasn't ready for it. I just wasn't ready to... when I want to get a tattoo, I want to get something sort of big and sort of good, And it's not that the $20, $13, whatever tattoos would have been bad, but it wouldn't have been what I wanted for my first tattoo. Even if it was something small. Honestly, I was thinking right on the wrist, probably right in this area. Cover it with a watch easily. Hell, I wear so much jewelry there, and, it wouldn't even be seeable when I went out. So it'd really only be something that we saw at the house if I didn't have any kind of jewelry or any kind of clothing on. But that was kind of where I was thinking before. But I decided that I just kind of wasn't ready for it, and I haven't been driving for the longest time because the battery in my car is dead, so my only thing that I could do last night was to hitch a ride with a buddy of mine and go along, and I notoriously don't like to stay out super late, okay? It has nothing to do with the bedtime or anything like that, but when I want to go, when I want to leave a place, I want to be able to leave when I'm ready to go. I want to say, hey, you know, I've had a great time. We've been at this bar for like an hour, because I don't need to be at a bar for much longer than that. I'm ready to bail. But I don't have a car, so I would have had to say, hey, can you take me home? And I didn't want to be that guy that, while everyone else was having a great time, that said, hey, you know, I'm ready to roll. So I just decided I would stay home altogether. Had some wine, enjoyed myself, played a few video games, watched a little bit of Justice League on Netflix, been watching that lately. Been playing DC Universe Online, and so naturally I've been trying to immerse myself in the DC universe, I guess. And so been watching Justice League, which is a very good show. We'll talk about that in a second. Excuse me. And that's about it. I went to bed early, about 11 o'clock, thinking, well, I better get ready for the show tomorrow. Or at least have this, you know, be able to wake up. Because I wake up and I do the show usually in the morning. Occasionally I'll do it Friday nights right before I go to bed or something like that. That way I can get a little bit of it prepped. But normally, if I can, I will wake up at 8 o'clock. And I will do everything kind of in one shot to get ready for this show. Everything that you see or hear on Saturdays usually is prepared within that hour or two before the show starts. And the last couple Saturdays, I've had a pretty bad track record with wanting to wake up at 8 o'clock. I usually set the alarm then for like another hour, get to 9 o'clock, and then I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, and I have to get here and freaking do the show as fast as I can. And so I decided I would just go to bed early, hopefully wake up at 8 o'clock, kill it, and I did. And then I went downstairs and played the PS4 for a little bit while I was waiting to do the show. So now we're here, we're doing the show, I'm excited. Feel like I've gotten a lot accomplished so far. So Justice League, I talked about that. I've been watching a little bit of Justice League, which is a cartoon. It is set in the DC universe. You've seen the Avengers film, probably. The Justice League is the Avengers for DC. It's got Batman, Superman, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Hawkgirl, Green Lantern, The Flash. It's all those guys, you know, and probably many more. Sort of coming together in their ensemble cast and then taking down bad guys or whatever. You know, going with the story arcs. Aquaman's in there too, actually. He just came into the episodes I was watching last night. And, you know, it's like I said, it's like the Avengers. They take on this big badass villain dude, and you know they have to do teamwork and all that kind of crap. And then that's what the Justice League does. It's a very good show. I highly recommend it if you're looking for a good, you know, kind of. There is an era. I don't know if it was really an era. I would say actually there are a couple cartoons that came out, and it happens with anime all the time because anime. You know, which really is just a lot of people actually think anime just specifically refers to Japanese animation. That's untrue. Technically, cartoons are anime. We call them cartoons because that's what we call them. Japan calls their cartoons anime. They don't call them Japanese cartoons or Japanese anime. They just call it anime. So, really, you know, anime is their version of sort of cartoons, and it's much more deeply ingrained in their culture. And so you get a lot more mature anime, and you know, we have some versions of mature stuff here. You look at Archer, which is a mature comedy animated show, but you know, very rarely do you get a very good sort of serious cartoon that is at least aired with the intention of having kids watch it. Okay, and that's what Justice League would have been. It would have been on Cartoon Network. It would have been probably on right after school, waiting for people to get home and check it out. And of course, you know, Superman, Batman, and whatever at that time was not in the mainstream. You know, I think the show was 2004, 2005 maybe. It wasn't till 2005 that Nolan came out with the first Batman film and threw comics back into the mainstream, really. I guess you could say maybe with Iron Man, and I don't know when Iron Man came out. Thor definitely was much later. The Spider-Man movies were kind of mainstream at that point, I guess, but no one really cared about Spider-Man 3, so Spider-Man 3 wasn't doing so hot, and it was not till Nolan did Batman that really kind of said, oh shit, we can do really good comic films. And so then Marvel starts killing it, right? They start doing Iron Man and everyone loves it. And then they do Thor and everyone loves it. And then they do, you know, what else have they done? Captain America. And I think everyone thought the first movie was okay. They thought the second one was great. And then they do Avengers and whatever. But at the time, you know, Justice League would not have been a huge thing. And Marvel, at least in the eyes of the mainstream public, Marvel has a far superior hold on the movie universe right now compared to DC. DC is just starting to ramp up their catalog of what they're trying to offer. But, you know, you get this show, Justice League, that, you know, is it does have some comedy in it. You have people like The Flash that are mostly comedic characters. But for the most part, they're genuinely pretty serious episodes, and they take place over multiple episodes. The story arcs will actually last multiple episodes, which is an interesting tactic because cartoons in general, like I said, are probably, at least in American culture, are aimed more towards children. And so when you show it on Cartoon Network at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you think to yourself, you know, okay, what dude is coming home 30 years old, 40 years old, even in the late 20s, whatever, coming home and watching this? No, they're coming home to their wife, they're talking about how their day was, blah, 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 they're eating dinner, and then they sit down to watch TV. So it's definitely not aimed at those guys. They're aiming at this child demographic with episodes that require you to watch multiple episodes at a time. And as a kid, how often would, you know, if you came home and you tuned in and you realized, I didn't watch yesterday because maybe I did something else, and now you're watching this story arc that maybe you're 2 or 3 episodes in and you haven't seen the first episodes. It's just a very interesting formula because kids by nature have a far less honed focus or attention span. And so to have multiple episode arcs, you require people to sit down and commit to multiple episodes. Something that kids don't care about. You know, they tune in and they see, oh, here's the last part of that thing when Superman saves the day, and they make a lot of references to the first 2 episodes, but they don't really care and they move on. And I just find it fascinating that they put so much effort into that show, into crafting these story arcs that last multiple episodes for something that at the time was probably not even being watched by people who could actually appreciate it. You know, kids don't care. They turn it on, they're like, oh, sweet, Superman, and sees him fight a bunch of dudes, and that's it. I'm very impressed with it. I'm actually really excited. They are showing a lot of finesse in trying to articulate larger stories that require an invested audience, which is not what kids are. Kids are generally not an invested audience. You know, you come home and you might say, you might have a favorite show, Power Rangers or whatever it is, and you like to tune into it, but you don't think about the larger show. You know, as a kid, you don't tune in and say, oh, I really want to watch this episode because what happened yesterday was crazy. You just go, oh shit, I love Power Rangers, I want to tune in today. And so you're only thinking about the now. You're coming in and you're only thinking about, you know, what's showing on right now. It doesn't even matter if it's a terrible episode. You just want to watch it, right? Because you're a kid and you don't care. So I'm impressed with Justice League. I'm excited. They really are working in on, you know, they're really doing a good job of trying to get the audience invested, and that's very rare in a cartoon, especially from 2005. Which, I mean, it's 10 years old by now. So that's what I've been watching lately. It's 2 seasons. I don't know how many episodes per season. Back then, cartoons were probably, I don't know, between 20 and 26 episodes. So if you are interested in something kind of superhero related, if you think you like Batman or want to find out more about, you know, the DC universe, about Martian Manhunter and Flash and Green Arrow and some of these other dudes that you've never heard of, check it out. There's also Justice League Unlimited, which I'll be watching probably after I finish Justice League, and that I think is just another, continuation of the show in a different series. I also plan on watching Arrow at some point. I've heard that's pretty good. That's about Green Arrow, who is from DC as well. The only thing holding me back is it's a CW television show, and if I've seen anything from CW, it's mostly teen drama crap. So I've heard Arrow does a decent job of hitting the drama and then trying to kind of cater to more of the comic book audience. So I'm willing to give it a try, and I want to get more into that universe and try to expand and see, you know, all the different things. So now they have a Flash spinoff based that he showed up on Green Arrow. People loved it, and so now they have a Flash show. Gotham's playing on Fox, which I haven't heard any particularly good or bad things about it yet. But I don't know, man. It's right now is a good time to check out DC. They have a lot of stuff. Marvel has Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think Agent Carter, was it? I think is the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Captain America spinoff. There's a lot of comic book stuff just right now, so it's good. Arrow is also on Netflix, so feel free to check that out. If you don't want to check out Justice League because you're like, I'm too old to watch cartoons, then check out Arrow. See how that is. Let me know how it is. Maybe I'll check it out. Before we dive into the news, I didn't know Liam Neeson was still doing action movies. That seems to be all his contract is for nowadays, is action films. I saw... I look up movie reviews and I read reviews of stuff coming out. Even if I don't see the film, I want to see what the general consensus is. That way... I don't. It's weird because a lot of people will say to me, they think it's weird that I'll read a game review or that I'll read a movie review with no intent of ever playing the game or seeing the movie or whatever. I just like to be involved in that particular field. I like to be the person who I haven't seen that movie, but I've read a lot about it. So if someone else, and this has happened, someone else mentions it and is like, I don't know if I want to go, I'll be like, you know what? I haven't seen it, but I've read like 10 reviews about it. Here's what some people have been saying. And then try to, you could call that kind of being misinformed because you can't really form a good opinion without having experienced the material or the work of art or whatever yourself. And I agree. I agree that reading reviews, 10 reviews, whatever, of a film does not equate to actually seeing the movie. But I like knowing about that kind of stuff because I don't always like to go out and see movies. Or maybe it will help me decide that maybe eventually I do want to go see that. But I saw one for a movie called Run All Night, which is a new Liam Neeson one. Sounds like the name is horrible, I think. Run All Night sounds boring. And I can only imagine that he's probably on the run for most of the evening. That's my guess. It seems to have gotten a relatively decent review so far, from what I've seen. Hearing that it's a lot of the same, though. If you've seen Taken, if you've seen Taken 2, if you've seen Taken 3, which I cannot believe exists, or Nonstop, or... just tie a few random action words together, chances are Liam Neeson starred in that movie. I'm tired of Liam Neeson. I've had enough of him, and he used to be one of my favorite actors. I used to love seeing him. When I saw him in Episode 1 of Star Wars as Qui-Gon Jinn, I was like, damn, he's the best part of that not-so-good movie. And it was real cool to see him, and he was just very cool, calm, and collected. And then he did Taken, and that was okay, that was good. And then Unknown, I think, was where he forgets his identity, where he, wakes up with amnesia, I guess. Is what I'm trying to say. And now he's just oversaturating the market with his crap. Give me more John Wicks. I want to see Keanu Reeves kicking people's asses. I don't want to see Liam Neeson. Now here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping Keanu Reeves does not become Liam Neeson by churning out terrible action films. If you like action, dumb action, and you like Liam Neeson, then fine. I'm sure his movies are great, but I feel like there's no substance. When the last 10 movies you do are all just you being a badass, and it's all the same thing too, right? It's always the dudes that wrong him, thinking, oh look, there's Liam Neeson, he's a washed up actor, he's old as hell, let's beat him up, or let's take his family, or let's do whatever, and then it's Liam Neeson going, you shouldn't have done that, and then kicking ass the entire rest of the movie. I can predict it. I guarantee you that's what happens in Run All Night. Somebody wrongs him, and they didn't know who they were messing with. Liam Neeson. Have you not seen his movies? Why'd you mess with him? He's going to kill you. So, that's in theaters and apparently doing okay. So, recommendation, I guess, if you want to go see it. I believe also that released maybe this weekend was, I can't think of the name of the movie, but it's Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell. I think Will Ferrell does something that deserves getting a prison sentence, and then he has to go to Kevin Hart to figure out how to toughen up for jail, or for prison, rather. The premise sounds absolutely hysterical, but almost all comedies have been major flops recently. I don't know the last time that there was a great comedy. I mean, I don't know if we talked about it on the show, but Vince Vaughn's latest film, I don't even remember what it was called. Unfinished Business, I think, was the lowest grossing wide release film he's ever had. Completely awful, you know? And Adam Sandler just had a film that, surprisingly, from the reviews I read, the movie I haven't seen, they said he actually wasn't too bad, but the writing and everything else was pretty horrible. Now, that one was called, I think, The Cobbler. But it's not a good time for comedies. They're not doing so hot lately, so I'm not really sure what to think about the Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart one. I hope it does great, because the premise sounds amazing. I'm going to talk about some news here. I think we're going to skip another news, and probably Would You Rather. There's really no reason for me to do that. Oops, I didn't... Hold on a second. Let me change this. I didn't... Spatial Project. It's the name of our song for the end of the show from SoundCloud. I didn't actually update the song title well enough. Let's see. Any important messages here? Oh, apparently Cinderella opened yesterday. And in fact, I did read a review about that. So this is from my mother. Cinderella's doing very well. I read the review last night, and it seems to be a very good return to form. They talked about, in a world of reboots and remakes and sequels and just garbage being pumped back out into, just the mainstream film industry. I guess that's redundant. The film industry is just all mainstream, but I've heard Cinderella is actually a very good rendition and a very good, just classic telling of the story. No twists, no nothing. You know Cinderella, you're going to know what you're getting when you go into it, but it's a good movie, from what I've read, which isn't to say much, but I did see the review last night. Let's go on to Page Not Found. We'll talk about some interesting stuff, at least in my opinion.
404 error. Page not found.
Alrighty, I am going to... wow, there's far more categories for this than I realized, so I might truncate this a little bit. I'm going to talk about the BAFTA Awards right now, and I'm going to forewarn anyone that's listening in, the BAFTA Awards, or at least the portion of it that I'm talking about, is about awards awarded to video games for their accomplishments. So, if you have zero interest in this segment, turn it off, come back in 20-30 minutes, which would just be for the song, I guess, or just go start your day early. Because it'll probably be this, and then I guess we'll be wrapping up the show about after that. Wasn't a whole lot of news because we kind of covered it this Wednesday when we had our midweek show. Been having a lot of sort of shorter shows lately, but it keeps everything kind of off kilter, muscle confusion, as they would say. You never know what to expect, so hopefully it's all entertaining. Next week should be back to returning to form for our actual show. All right, so let me go over here. I'm going to go over some of the categories and what I think and what actually won and reasons why it might have won. I am going to read, let's see here. Is any of this important? Going to the awards, blah, blah, blah. No, none of that's really important. Let's see here. Alrighty, so the BAFTA Awards, actually, I'll talk about this. So last year, actually, I believe it was the first episode of Stream the Machine, we talked about The Last of Us winning BAFTA. I don't know if it was the best game or what it won, but we talked about games and what they could offer as far as emotional stories and emotional experiences. Okay, and almost everyone comes to the consensus, what's the most emotional game you've ever played? The Last of Us. And or at least that's going to be one of the names that you hear tossed about, because that's a crazy story, right? have played The Last of Us. I showed a little bit to my mother when I went to visit her, and she went upstairs after I got done showing her the opening, because it was just crazy. You know, it's just a very emotional story, and you play the first 5 minutes, and you're like, holy shit, this is the first 5 minutes, and it's this crazy? So it's good stuff. But we talked about it last year, and we said, you know, we're making a lot of accomplishments and a lot of sort of forward momentum and progression when we're trying to actually award, because the BAFTA is the British Academy of Film and Television Arts. It is not something about video games. They have decided, in 1998 it was, to start including games that they felt had an artistic value to them. Games that offered something that was more than just playing a game. It was a great story. It was a great art style. It had great audio. The music was amazing, and all these other categories that they could do. And they started putting out awards for it. So I'm going to talk about some of the categories here. They just had this. They had it, and they gave out all the awards for it. And I'm going to talk about, I guess, what I can to hopefully provide some insight on what was going on here. So we'll brush over probably a few of these and maybe talk in depth about some others. Best Audio Achievement Award went to Alien Isolation. Had to go up against the likes of the Banner Saga, which was a turn-based strategy game set in sort of a Viking / Norse vibe. Very good, very good. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Who cares about Call of Duty? Call of Duty sucks. Not really. I don't like Call of Duty. I hate the series. A lot of people like it. It's very high production value, so I'm just going to hate on it because I don't like it. Disney Fantasia Music Evolved, which I have not played or even heard of. Mario Kart 8, which is a Nintendo favorite. Everyone who owns a Wii or whatever gets Mario Kart. And The Sailor's Dream, also another one I have never heard of. Alien Isolation winning the Audio Achievement Award does not surprise me. Alien Isolation was the game I was talking about that I played a couple weeks ago. That I was so scared I couldn't play it anymore. I was playing it, and it gave me so much anxiety, and I couldn't do it. The sound in it was amazing, and I think I told you about how the PS4 version had it so, you know, if you had your camera and you had your headphones on, if you turned your head, it would put the sound, if it was coming from in front of you, it would have the sound come out of whatever ear was closest to the camera, because it would be able to detect, and it would try to, you know, simulate real turning of the head. And then they also had that ability where if you accidentally went too hard and breathed into your mic, the alien would hear you and come slaughter you. So, does not surprise me. That game is really good at, took a lot of attention to detail, visually and auditorily speaking. You know, crawling around a ship and you just hear these clinks and these clanks and gas coming out of this valve over here, and, you know, I didn't even fight. I never fought the alien, okay? I didn't even get far enough. I got far enough to see his tail shred a dude completely. That is it. That is as far as I got before I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And it was because leading up to that point with no alien, the sounds, the dark, dank hallways you're crawling through, you start to shit your pants far earlier than you would have, just because of great atmosphere. And sound really adds to the atmosphere of a game. You know, play Dead Space. It's really important in horror games. As you'll notice, that's why I'm mentioning a lot of horror games. And the fact that a horror game won out should surprise nobody. Dead Space, you know, old Resident Evils, Silent Hill. God, Silent Hill is insane if they would have counted the older ones, but those are so old, I'm sure they wouldn't have. Alien Isolation. Anything that's a horror game has generally tremendous sound, because a good part of horror is not knowing what's out there. It's the mystery. It's the confusion of not knowing exactly what's there. If it was a bunch of things just running at you and fighting you the whole time, that's not a horror game. That's an action game. Okay? A horror game is almost like 75% atmosphere and then 25% actual scary shit coming at you. So kudos to Alien Isolation for winning the audio achievement. It shows that they put good effort into it, and it shows that they're able to recognize good quality when they see it. Now the next one's very questionable. I don't believe this one at all. Best game. Okay, so this is talking about best overall game. You played the game and you think that out of everything that you played, this one is the best. I won't go as heavily into this one because this one is just, it's stupid. Runner-ups or nominations were Alien Isolation, Destiny, Dragon Age Inquisition, which is the third Dragon Age game, Mario Kart 8, Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and Monument Valley. Monument Valley was an independent mobile game that I have not played yet. I have not played Mario Kart 8 either. I have played all 4 other games, and Destiny was the one that won Best Game of 2014. I think that is complete hog crap. Destiny, while it had good mechanics, it had an awful story. The replay value was non-existent. It was something that you sat down, you got max level, and you did everything within a week or 2 of the game actually launching. And it marketed itself as an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game, where MMOs traditionally have lots of content for you to do. That's meant for you to be online, for you to always be doing things. It's like, they didn't market it strictly as an MMO. That would be something like Warcraft, okay, World of Warcraft. But they said, it has this element, has these elements, it has these things, and it didn't. The fact that it wins Game of the Year really makes me question the rest of these categories, to be honest. Because Destiny, I wouldn't have given it to Alien Isolation. I wouldn't. Because I don't think that was Game of the Year material. It's a very, very good game, but I wouldn't say it was Game of the Year. Dragon Age 3, very possibly. I spent a lot of time in Dragon Age 3. I had emotional moments in Dragon Age 3. I had a lot of fun with the gameplay in Dragon Age 3. The music was phenomenal. The visuals were incredible. The gameplay itself. I mean, there's so many different things about Dragon Age that are better than Destiny. I also would have considered giving it to Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor. That was one of the most in-depth, when you finally realize how much work they've put into the system that they had for... So Shadow of Mordor, your whole goal, okay, Shadow of Mordor, you're like, oh, that sounds familiar. It's a Lord of the Rings game. Talked about it briefly on the show. The whole goal is that you're this guy who gets bound to a spirit, and you have to seek vengeance, okay, based on, I think, your family and you actually being brutally murdered in the beginning. Very much like The Crow, weirdly enough. And so you get bound to the spirit, and you and the spirit, who have both dealt with brutal loss, revenge, and have to kill all these orc captains. Okay, each orc captain had unique names, and each one had names that also would describe their appearance. Let's say they had a scar in their face. That guy would be Torgard Scarface, or something. Just stupid stuff like. Their naming convention system, the way that they talked about how they made it, they had thousands of names that would generate for these orcs, which is incredible because there's a lot of games that don't work that hard to do that much detail. They think, okay, you know what? The player's probably going to fight 20 guys. Let's make 30 names, okay? And that means if you fight more than 30 dudes, and even sometimes not even 30 dudes, you're going to have something that repeats, okay? And then it reminds you that you're playing a game. It breaks the immersion when you remember that there are limitations to what you are doing. You get thousands of names and you fight 100, not even 100 orcs or whatever in that game the first time you play it. You can play that game 7 more times all the way through without ever encountering a duplicating name until and that's, I don't even know if I've played a game that many times through. And so for them to put so much effort and so much work into figuring out this system to make sure that the player experiences the most immersive presentation that they can of whatever they're trying to show, in this case, Shadow of Mordor and their story, that is a link that most people do not go to. Not to mention, I thought the story was pretty good. I think it reviewed in the mediocre range, but I thought it was all right. Dragon Age and Shadow of Mordor, I definitely would have given it to other than Destiny. I don't know how Destiny won. Destiny shouldn't have won. It was a bad choice, in my opinion. Just straight up, don't think that was a good choice at all. But I'm not part of the award ceremony or the award bench, the guys that give the awards. So what do I know? Best debut game. There's the Banner Saga, which I told you was the one about the Vikings and kind of a turn-based game. It's very good. It's basically like the Oregon Trail. You control this group of Vikings, and you go along in your caravan. You visit towns. You get food and supplies, and you try to keep people from fighting. And you have to deal with this guy tried to mutiny. Do you lock him up and leave him here? Do you kill him now on the spot? Do you take him with you as a prisoner? All this kind of stuff mixed with really good story. It's a very good game. Counter Spy, which I have not played. I actually have it on PS4, but I haven't played it yet. Hitman Go, which was a mobile version of Hitman. It's a sort of a turn-based, almost like a board game strategy. It's a very cool game. A game called Never Alone, which is... We'll go into it here in a second. Very, very good. I've played that extensively. Game called Shovel Knight, which I haven't played yet, and The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which was a mystery game that I also have not played yet, that I want to play. Out of all of those, for best debut game, so that means the best of like a new series, okay? It looks like most of these are independent, I think, except for Hitman Go. That would be under Square Enix's production, so that one is not independent. Never Alone was the winner, and Never Alone is a phenomenal game because it tells a story about, and I don't know the tribe or the name of what it's not like the Inuit, but it tells the story of this little girl that belongs to a tribe in Alaska, and she's kind of out and adventuring, and she encounters some trouble, and I think she gets attacked by a bear, and polar bear, and this little snow fox comes up and saves her, jumps around the bear and confuses it, and then jumps across this gap, and the bear falls into the water and ends up swimming off because he's pissed, right? So then the whole game is you control, so kind of like a platformer puzzle game, you control the little girl and the fox as they sort of try to figure out. So as she makes her way back home, she finds out that her village was destroyed. Okay, and so you have to, as this girl and this fox, find the man that destroyed the village. And then I mean, you're not going to kill him. It's a pretty tame game, but. I remember at one point he starts chasing you, and then you get stuck in a cavern, and the whole game really is, like I said, more of a puzzle game, right? So you play as the girl, you can do certain things as the girl. You play as the fox, you can do certain things as the fox. You switch back and forth, okay? Now, meanwhile, right, you're playing this game, okay, based on a real tribe, all right? And you're thinking to yourself, all right, Jake, well, that sounds cool. What else makes it good? Well, as you're playing, you will unlock these videos from, like a full documentary that they put together for the game of people from that tribe in like modern day explaining their culture and their way of life and the way that they do things, and it syncs up with the actual game. So let's say you get to this part, and you discover like these markings of people drawing like very spiritual or religious drawings, okay? In that part, you unlock the part of the video where they start to talk about, what spirituality means to that tribe and what the religion means to them. And so this entire game, while you're playing it, you are learning about this actual tribe. When they developed the game, they actually met with the tribe members. They said, here's what we want to do. We want to tell a story that's very very much like a storytelling of a legend, okay? What's like, if your tribe were to sit down and say, all right, boys and girls, let me tell you about X, being the girl and the fox, and so that's how the game pans out. When you play it, you're playing this game as if it was this, this ancient story that's been passed down. Meanwhile, you're learning everything about this tribe. It's incredible. You're playing this game and they're teaching you about something that you've never heard of, that you would not have ever heard of and thought, oh, I heard about that tribe. Let's go look them up on Wikipedia. Let's learn everything about it. You're not going to do that, not unless you really have an interest in it. But here I am playing this game, having these really interesting and thought-provoking puzzles and trying to get the girl and the fox and save them, and meanwhile I'm learning about all this tribe that I've never heard of, that I'm like, aware of their culture and how they do things. And if someone were to ask me a question about it, I could tell them, you know. And I don't think the game is there 100% to just be like, well, here's an interesting way to teach kids, right? You give them a little game, and then you give them a little learning, and then a game, and then a learning. No, I don't think that's it at all. I think they present it to you so that you can play it, you can enjoy a great game, and have the opportunity to actually learn about something while you're playing it. The videos don't come across as if they're teaching you. Okay? They come across as if you're just unveiling parts of history that I actually get excited to see the next video clip that I can unlock, because it's so fun to actually learn about the culture and what's being sort of put into this story that's being, unraveled that I'm playing. Very good stuff. So the fact that won Best Debut Game does not surprise me one bit, and I'm very glad that it did. Best Family Game. The nominations were the Lego Movie video game, which I have not played. I've played Lego games before. They're usually pretty decent. Little Big Planet 3, which I own. Very cool game. Minecraft Console Edition. Mario Kart 8 showing up again. Skylanders Trap Team. And a game called 12 a Dozen, which I have not heard of. Microsoft won that for Best Family Game. That doesn't surprise me. Microsoft? They actually own Minecraft now. Minecraft is a very, very constructive, a very creative game, and more kids are using it and being able to, it's like digital Legos. It's the ability to sit down and say, this is what I want to do with my creativity. I want to create this. You can find videos of people that have created, the Starship Enterprise, or have created, entire worlds. Okay. And they do it, can be a very peaceful and very, cathartic for a lot of people. I know Keith, actually, my friend, he doesn't even play on the main survival mode, because it does have a survival mode where you can build and stuff, and then you also fight creatures. He plays on the peaceful mode, which means you have unlimited resources and you just build. There's no chance of dying. You just create things. And that's what he likes to do. He likes to sit down and he likes to create a lot of things. And a lot of kids are doing that nowadays. A lot of kids are doing it with their parents. They're sitting down and they're saying, hey, can we build our house? Can we sit down and do this thing? And it's a great way for parents to be able to sit down and play a game and interact with their children, and not, have it be, hey, Dad, you want to play Mortal Kombat or something, like that. They can sit down and they can play something where they can actually put their creativity to use. So, it's been a very long time since I played Minecraft. I'm not really in that mode anymore. But very good. Little Big Planet 3 would have also been a good choice. I've played a little bit of that. It's another platformer puzzler. Very good, though. Very funny and very kid-oriented, but still, good. Just because it's a kid game doesn't necessarily mean that it's not. The best quote-unquote kid games are ones that can appeal to a wider audience. Same thing with the cartoons. Like I said, is that if you can appeal to the lower demographic and then the higher demographic and still entertain everybody, you're doing something right. Just look at SpongeBob. That was something that both my dad and I watched that, and my youngest nephews would watch that, because it was hilarious to all of us and it was funny and it was. So these kind of things that are able to appeal to wider groups of people is very fun to see. Best game design, Alien Isolation again, Destiny, should not have even been nominated, Far Cry 4, which I have, but I have not played a lot of, Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft, which is a card game based on Warcraft's universe, Middle-earth, Shadows of Mordor, and a game called Threes, another one I have not heard of. The winner here was Shadows of Mordor. Again, I'm not going to go into depth again, but I talked about how crazy the amount of depth in the development that they went to, make sure that they tried to craft the most unique experience possible for the players. Does not surprise me that they got the best game design. Alien Isolation would have also probably been an okay pick. Destiny, not at all. It should not even have been on the list. Far Cry 4 I've not played enough of. But I've heard Far Cry 4 is a little derivative of Far Cry 3. So, congratulations to Middle-earth, Shadows of Mordor. Let's see. Any other good categories here. Multiplayer, Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft 1 went up against Call of Duty, Destiny, both awful games. Mario Kart 8, which would have been another good one. I'm actually surprised that one didn't win. Minecraft and Titanfall. Titanfall is kind of, I guess that maybe, in fact, I didn't know that came out last year. Or, I'm not sure why that's on the list. Titanfall is kind of old news now. But Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft, good on Blizzard for that. It's kind of surprised me a little bit, actually. I would have thought that Mario Kart 8 would have won Best Multiplayer, because that one's very good for like people coming over and playing it. Whereas Hearthstone is, just playing cards. And I guess since it's a casual game, it's easier for people to get into. Best Music goes to Far Cry 4. Went up against Alien Isolation, which probably had minimalist music, to be honest. So the music in there doesn't surprise me that didn't win. The Banner Saga, which had fantastic music. Middle Earth also had decent music. Surprising... I've not heard much about Far Cry 4, other than that it was, like I said, it was a little derivative of Far Cry 3, so the fact that it would win Best Music is interesting. It gives me something to look forward to actually playing the game. Best Original Property, let's see, how many more? Okay, we're almost done here. I'll do the show and stuff, and we'll play out with the song. Best Original Property, Valiant Hearts wins that. Going up against a game called Kalimba, which I haven't heard of, Monument Valley, which is that mobile game, Sunset Overdrive, which was a third-person shooter for Xbox One, Titanfall, I've already mentioned, and The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Valiant Hearts was about, it's a 2D, I don't know what you'd call that. A 2D platformer, I guess, where you play as characters in the middle of what looks to be World War I and World War II. And it presents you this game where you're playing as these characters, but you're also seeing the fallout of the things that happens, Your character dies, and, you actually see them having to deliver the message to his wife. And they tried to do a game that was a game, but also kind of showed you some of the horrors of war in a little bit more of a cartoony fashion. When I say cartoony, I don't mean in a comedic way. Definitely not comedic. But they tried to approach these things, with a little bit of a softer hand. You're not going to see Platoon, in this kind of thing, showing you the horrors of war in a very gritty and dark and real fashion. What you're seeing is, this is kind of a fun game, and here we go, we got to do this, and we got to save our buddy, but then, you chose to save him, you can't save everybody. And so, it's they did a very good job of mixing it around. I'm glad that won Best Original Property compared to these other nominations, because that was another game that, wasn't just a game anymore. It tried to tackle emotional topics, and it can be very difficult. I have that game. I haven't played it yet. I don't know why. I just haven't gotten around to it. Best Performer. It's actually got Kevin Spacey on here for his bit in Call of Duty. Troy Baker is one of my favorite guys. He did not win. Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie in The Last of Us, actually won. That's a no-brainer. The Last of Us usually steals the show in almost every way. And especially with the particular moment that they are talking about. I can't really go into detail, unfortunately. It'd just be way too long to talk about it, but I'm glad Ashley won. The Last of Us was an incredible piece of work, and Troy Baker is actually also in The Last of Us, and that was I've heard Troy Baker in 1,000 games and a bunch of movies, or a bunch of anime, and his performance in The Last of Us still blows my mind with how great it was, and especially Ashley Johnson, who is the girl that has to who plays Ellie, which is the girl that Troy Baker's character Joel looks over throughout most of the game. Best story, The Last of Us won that as well. Went up against Never Alone, The Wolf Among Us, Far Cry 4. The Wolf Among Us had very good story. Never Alone also would have been decent, but The Last of Us just kind of kills it on every front. So I'm okay with that. I don't know what this other category is, but it looks dumb. I can't even see what the category is for, so we're not going to look into that. That's it. Sorry if you don't like anything about video games. If you were interested in any of the games I mentioned and got to hear a somewhat detailed explanation of them, then I'm glad to have been of service. I just wanted to talk about that and get some of my feelings off. I wanted to talk about it with Tony, but it actually turned out to be a decent show just talking about my own opinions I normally would not have been able to ramble on about if Tony was here. So let's go ahead and end this show. We'll get out of here. It's just about an hour. That way all you guys can go start your day, eat your breakfast, do what you want to do. So let's cut that jazz. Let's cut the jazz! Alright. Ways to help out the show. If you decide, hey, you know what, that show is kind of good. Kind of like it. Like the posts that we have on Facebook, on Twitter, and share them, please. Sharing is one of the greatest things you can do because it helps get us out there, you know. We only know so many people. And you've probably got a bunch of friends that I don't know, a bunch of friends that Tony doesn't know, and those friends might have people that are most guaranteed have people that we don't know. When you share it and they get to see it, and then another friend sees it and thinks, oh, you know what, that may not be, maybe I'll check that show out. And then it just continues to spread, and it's contagious. So if you actually like the show, help us by sharing and telling people about it. If you know people that listen to podcasts, say, hey, you know what, they're playing my music on the show this week, or I got the guest on that show, or, you know, if that was something that you got to do, or, you know, if you're a relation, say, hey, this is my brother or my sister or my, you know, anything helps. And I'm not a sister. I don't know why I use that as an example. I'm nobody's sister. Sponsor segment. You can figure out how to do more. You can figure out how to do that. Figure out more about that. My worlds are jumbling right now. You can figure out how to sponsor the show on our website, streamthemachine.com, and you can figure out more there. Support us on our Patreon page, www.patreon.com/streamthemachine. There, you can just become a supporter. You don't even have to do a donation. A donation is always very welcomed, and we thank everybody for their support, and the people that actually have donated before, thank you very much. It helps out a lot with the show. But just go there and become a supporter. Click on the link, become a Patreon. Become a patron. And just help us out. Email in your music. I've actually got some music today from a friend of mine that I work with. I'm excited to play his stuff. Email in your music because I like to have stuff that, you know, from people I know. I have not heard from Chosmac and DJ YRS Jersey in a long time. I don't know if they just haven't been putting out tracks. I don't know what the deal is. They used to send stuff in like once a month at least. I'm gonna have to get on them and see if they got any more tracks for me. They're almost like the house band. I think I've played them on the show more than anybody else. You can follow me on Twitter at RedefineJack, which I've been checking a little bit more recently, but I still haven't really been posting. Tony at Tony DePalma51. He's a very funny guy on Twitter. Says very funny things. You can follow the show at STM Podcast. There you can figure out when the show's going live, when the video show is finally uploaded on YouTube. For those of you who don't tune in live, or maybe you're tuning in live now, but you haven't always been able to tune in live, the video show usually is not ready for a couple hours until a couple hours after the show. It takes some time to upload, then YouTube has to process it. I don't know what their processing process is. If they just have a dude sitting there scanning everything to make sure that, you know, there's no nudity, that I'm not like whipping my junk out in the middle of the show or something. But they have to process every video that goes up, and since we usually do 2-hour shows, processing takes a long time. I'm not thanking anybody for their help today. F those guys. Wait, I have a clip for that. Hold on. Here we go.
Well, that asshole.
And apparently we figured this out from Kanye West today.
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
Yeah, what a... That clip at the beginning of the show is a Red Cross charity, like the public service things that they do on television. And you have Michael Myers, Austin Powers, and Kanye West. And then Kanye does his traditional, I'm a douchebag, and runs his mouth and says stupid things. It's kind of funny and priceless. But I'm not thanking anybody. Not thanking you, Tony. I'm not thanking you, Ross, even though the notes tell me to do it. Come back next week and I'll thank you then. If you want to listen to old shows, go to streamthemachine.com. Check out our archive. There you can tune in and see what kind of work we've done before and listen to other shows if you like these shows. Next week at 10:30 Eastern, episode 49. There's the one episode before 50. And then we're going to blow the roof off this house and hopefully present a very good show for you. We're going to play today's show out with a song. The project is called Electric Ocean. There's a guy I work with. It's a guy that I've talked about that might be doing a music collaboration with. In fact, not might, but will be eventually. I ordered brand new guitar strings yesterday. They will be coming in the mail. So hopefully that will be happening very soon. This is a song that he did that I actually really like, and I really want to remix with him. I want to try and do some vocals and some guitars over it. And we've talked about it a little bit. But this is called Spatial Project by Electric Ocean. You can find it on SoundCloud. I've actually already downloaded and I purchased this one. You can buy any of his music on Amazon. It's kind of neat. It looks like SoundCloud has automatic integration into Amazon, which is kind of cool for artists. So here it is. Spatial Project by Electric Ocean. Next week we will be back with Tony. We will be back with Ross, pending any kind of, unforeseen accidents. We have a lot the next show, and then boom, we are hitting that 1 year anniversary. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in, listening to me ramble for what looks like an hour. Can you believe it? I wonder if my parents ever thought when I was a kid that I'd be able to talk. They probably expected it. Was that at one point in Jake's life, he will have the opportunity to sit down for an hour straight and talk to his computer. Nobody there. I'm not even giving a presentation or nothing. There might be no one that listened to today's show, but I sat down and I talked for an hour and I enjoyed it. I'm pretty sure that's a sign of vanity. So anyways, thank you for tuning in. If you tuned in, if you didn't tune in, no thanks to you at all, but you won't even hear me. So I'm just going to play the song. You guys have a great weekend. We will be back next week with more good stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Spatial Project. The Skittles Man makes a return. Oh, that's a show, man.